Hey everybody, this is Josh Ronquist here with the 10th episode
Whoop, whoop.
Of the Heavy Debriefings podcast. Whoop, whoop! I, of course, am Josh Ronquist, along with...
The Metal Faerie.
And, 10 episodes. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's going pretty good so far, and I haven't walked out on you yet, so...
Well, maybe you will by the end of this episode. We'll see what happens. We know each other all too well. But we got a jam-packed show for you this time. A lot of thrills, spills, chills, and kills.
Oh.
But we'll get to all that stuff later as we get into the news.
For a first in the history of our podcast so far, there is not a celebrity death we have to talk about.
I think we finally broke the streak here because...
Yes.
Hitting the 10th episode means that maybe we won't get a celebrity death for a week.
Yeah, knock on wood. But we do have some news. So there's some controversy going on with both Drew Barrymore and Bill Maher in terms of the strike that's going on.
Yes, what's going on here is, of course, the writer's strike, the actor's strike, and from what I am led to believe, voiceover strike. So if you love video games and animation as much as I do, that might be going on strike as well soon. Mm-hmm. So if you love reality television, hold on to your hats. There's going to be a lot of that in production very soon.
Yes.
But to basically put it into layman's terms, to make it as simple as possible, both Drew Barrymore and Bill Maher announced that they were going to be using non-union writers to put the show back on the air. So, and of course, that is really, really frowned upon with the derogatory term of scab, as someone who does something like that, bust up the unions and use non-union workers. Now, the thing is, right before we started recording this, Drew Barrymore has walked back on this idea, and it will remain off the air until the strike is over. Mm-hmm. But Bill Maher, of course, does not care, and he's going to be going full-fledged into it because he's kind of turned into the opposite of what I loved him for.
Yeah.
Now, as someone who's not that familiar with all the striking that's going on and everything, like, how do you feel about all of this?
I mean, I guess for me, it kind of depends on why they're choosing to proceed with their shows. Like, obviously, I totally respect everything their strike is going for, and change needs to happen. On the flip side, unfortunately, with, all these writers and stuff not working, this puts a lot of other people out of work as well. And with the case of Drew anyways, it was my understanding that she was wanting to continue the show so that her other staff members would still have jobs, so they could continue, living their lives and stuff. So in a case like that, I see both sides. Unfortunately, it's not an easy situation. Change needs to happen, but at the same time, it's hard when more people are being impacted by it as a result.
It's a real selfish choice thing when it comes into something like that. And there is no real easy answer.
No.
Of course, the real easy answer is for all the production companies to just give fair payments to everyone that works underneath them.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, especially in America, that is just not the way that it works.
No, and especially with things changing so much in the industry and going more towards streaming, it's such a different territory, and they need to kind of reevaluate how things are.
And of course, the threats of, you don't like what you're doing? Okay, well, we'll just hire AI.
Exactly.
To write everything as well. And then we'll just hire one person to make everything make sense from what is written in the script, which is what they keep threatening.
Yeah.
And, as someone who loves to write stuff up, someone who constantly has, ideas that can never follow through because I don't have the money for it, and for someone who just enjoys written entertainment, it really sucks to see all this happen. But as you've mentioned, it's not just the writers that are here. There's so many people that go on, from makeup artists to lighters to the best boy at best to everyone that works to make a show possible.
Yes.
And unless everybody strikes, it does hurt a lot of people. And
absolutely.
I just hope it can get resolved because this has been going on for a long time.
It has.
And I just hope the writers, the actors, and soon-to-be voiceover artists are able to get what they deserve and everyone can get back to work.
Absolutely. So shifting gears a little bit, there was some kind of back and forth news about Cult of Lamb and Unity.
Cult of the Lamb.
My apologies. Cult of the Lamb and Unity.
Yes, what was going on here? Well, the big overarching thing is the video game software Unity, which is what a lot of video game developers use to make video games.
Yes.
It's not the biggest one, of course, like Unreal Engine, and of course, if you're a big enough company, you can create your own one, like Bethesda using the Creation system. But coming up in January 2024, Unity has decided that every time that someone installs one of their games, for example, Cult of the Lamb,
Yes.
not every time you buy it, but every time that you install it into anything, it will cost the company X amount of money. And from examples that we saw, it could be as much as 20 cents,
Yep.
which does not sound like a lot. But let's say that you sell 200,000 copies of a game. You add all of that up, and that's $20,000 in profits gone. And, you know, it already costs so much money to develop games nowadays, especially with how good they look, how long they run, making sure everything's up to specifications. And when you could lose like $20,000 just from installs, and especially if someone just already owns the game, let's say they have it on Xbox and they want to download it on the PC, that's 40 cents right there. And again, all of that adds up.
Especially if you're a smaller company to start with.
Yeah, that could bankrupt some gaming studios and not even make a profit. And
Absolutely.
And it'll make some games get delayed because they just don't have the funding to have that come out. So, you know, of course, for like huge companies that use Unity, this is nothing to them.
Right.
But it's all about the small companies like the creators of Cult of the Lamb,
Yes.
which you need to play because it
know.
is it's a perfect game for you. It's
It
Animal
is.
Crossing and Satanism. What else do you want?
That is true. That is true. But on the topic of Cult of the Lamb, so they initially came out when they found out about this saying that download the game now because January 1st we're taking it down. But now we've heard that they have kind of retracted on this, and perhaps they were kind of making a joke off of the initial kind of shock of it all. But they have said that they're not planning on taking it down, but this will impact their way of running business, of course, because it does cost more money for them, and there will be delays for them making more games.
Yeah, and like any bug updates that they need to patch out or anything like that. I mean, everything's going to get delayed from all of this, and it just really, really sucks to see. As someone
Definitely.
who loves the smaller games as much as I love the big AAA games, like, of course, kind of going into a Freddy foreshadow here, I have been playing Starfield, which of course is one of the biggest games of the year, if not the biggest game of the year, depending on who you ask. But I still love playing Cult of the Lamb just as much. I love playing those smaller games because sometimes they can be more fun.
Absolutely.
And yeah, one more time. Get Cult of the Lamb on the Switch. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Noted.
All right. As we don't have a What's Your Problem this week, we're going to be diving headfirst into my favorite segment of the show, where I pick out 3 random songs for the Metal Faerie to be able to check out and get her real reactions behind it. I saw there was a little bit of talk about Meshuggah last time. I know it ruffled a couple feathers.
Oh.
But let's see what happens this time around. All right, after some violent turmoil that just got done, I did get smacked.
Lightly, and on the arm.
That's what they all say. Anyways, we decided to go with some Nevermore here, one of
Yes.
my favorite bands of all time.
Yes.
But it is not Dead Heart in a Dead World, which is our collective favorite album between the two of us.
Yes.
But I did go with something off the Godless Endeavor, the song Born. What is your thoughts on this song?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Nevermore. This is a great song, great album. Yes, Dead Heart in a Dead World is absolutely my favorite album from them. Hands down, no question. Definitely the one I'm most well versed in. But that doesn't mean I don't like other Nevermore too. I do.
Sure, but
Sure.
no,
See what he does to me. See what he does to me, people.
This is why I get hit. But But no, this was actually my first Nevermore album. I know a lot of people started with Dead Heart in a Dead World. I completely missed the boat on that because I really didn't start becoming a true and cult metalhead until 2003. And of course, Dead Heart in a Dead World came out in 2000. So I was a bit late on the boat.
Yeah.
But when this came out in 2005, I was absolutely floored by this. There's so many great songs off of here, like the title track, like Born, like Psalms of Lydia. There's so many great songs off here. And in retrospect, when you look at everything, this is probably regarded as their second best album. Of course, Dead Heart being number one, but this album does deserve more recognition than it deserves. But then again, I think Nevermore just deserves more recognition than they get.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Warrell Dane, too. I mean, he was one of the best vocalists ever, and yeah.
And of course, the drummer of Snakes and Barrels in Metalocalypse. But yeah, love Warrell Dane. I only got to sit with him for 15 minutes to do an interview, but it was one of the best 15-minute interviews I've ever done. I was so happy to have that. And had I known it would have been the only time, I feel like I should have asked some more poignant questions, but hey, that's the way a cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah.
Next up, we go in a very different direction here.
Yes.
With the vampire album The Curse by the band Atreyu. And I picked out this particular song because it has to do with our love of wrestling, or sometimes our hate of wrestling.
Yes.
As before they went into professional wrestling, this marks the very first media appearance of the Bella Twins in this particular video.
Yeah.
Of course, the song is Right Side of My Side of the Bed by Atreyu.
Yes.
As someone who does enjoy the early 2000s pop punk, screamo, emo kind of stuff, have you listened to Atreyu before?
I've heard songs from them. I've never dived deep into them. To me, when I hear them, I just am reminded of guys who wear Affliction shirts that are 2 sizes too small for them.
And once you know, they did that with Fangs as well.
Did they? Yeah, I mean, it just comes off very bro-y to me. Very guys who think they're tougher than they are. I mean, I'll say it's catchy music. Some of it's very catchy, you know. There's some earworms in there for sure, but it's also those kind of really just cliche screams that is just kind of whining and yeah, and I just it's hard to get into.
And last week you heard their cover of Bon Jovi.
I don't even remember it. I blinked it out.
You Give Love a Bad Name.
Okay.
You know what? Pause for the cause. Oh, you remember it now, don't you?
Yeah, and it helped me remember and kind of pinpoint what I don't like about them. It's that whiny Fred Durst scream that I can't do.
I will say he's out of the band now.
I mean, that's
and the
could be good.
And the one who does the clean vocals is the lead singer of the band now.
Okay, that's something. It's something. But just know they will never be JBJ.
That's right. John Bovey.
John Bovey?
Haven't you ever seen that meme tattoo of like someone got the Bon Jovi tattoo,
okay.
but they got it wrong and it says John Bovey.
Okay. Yeah, but no, they will never be John.
And finally, just like a nice rug, it ties everything together. I have chosen the band Chemist to tie everything together here with their cover of the old traditional A Conversation with Death. It is, of course, the theme song to the Dark Pictures anthology, which ties into our next segment. I love Chemist. I love every song they've ever done. I love when they do covers of Dio, and Alice in Chains, and of course this traditional. What is your thoughts on this song?
Yeah, so I am familiar with the song from the games because we've played those all together, and I really love this song. I know you've played other Chemists for me as well. I just can't really remember it very well. I don't remember not liking it, though, so it's kind of one of those bands I haven't really dived into, though.
Do you remember the Rainbow in the Dark cover?
I remember liking it. I don't remember what it's like.
Pause for the cause. All right, so we heard a couple covers there. Of course,
Yes.
Rainbow in the Dark, and also Alice in Chains, Down in a Hole.
Yeah, I remember you playing these before. I really like them. I mean, I really like his voice. He has a really good, like, kind of clean but still ruggedy kind of tone to his voice that I really enjoy. And I mean, as far as the songs go, they're not completely rewriting the books, obviously, with them, but they put a different kind of tone to it that just kind of makes it sound more kind of dark and kind of doomy almost.
Well, they do refer to themselves as doomed heavy metal.
That makes sense.
And that's mainly because of the lyrical content. I mean, they do have some doom elements, obviously, but all of their songs kind of feels like an anthology in and of itself, as like every song is kind of like a Twilight Zone episode where it's like an adventure of someone eventually becoming damned or doomed or losing in life or dying. And I always appreciate it about them. And yeah, the vocals are just killer for this style. And like they never go too crazy when they do stuff. It's just like it's good mood music. Like I feel like you would enjoy Chemist if you're in the right mood.
Definitely.
So there we go, folks. 3 random songs, even though we did do more of that, and one we didn't even cover with the mic on, which we might save for a different time. But let's just say it sucks and actually rips off MC Chris.
A little bit.
But yeah, I'm very excited to see what will be on the gamut for next week. But we got some really fun stuff coming up right now.
So up next, we are going to jump into our Halloween section of the week, and we are going to talk about our top 10 horror video games.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this as the more avid gamer of the two of us, and by that I mean like I play a lot more different kind of video games.
Yeah.
Where you're a lot more picky on what you play.
That is true.
I have played a ton of great horror video games over the years. There's a lot that I haven't played that I should. There's some that I've probably played that I don't remember, but there are a lot of them I have played, especially with you, that made me have a lot more appreciation for them.
Absolutely.
So who's going first here?
Well, I do have a couple honorable mentions first I just want to do.
That is
so the reason they didn't quite make my list is because they're games that I don't really ever see myself going back and playing, but at the time I love them. They're both for NES, and they're both games I played as a youngster when I went to the video store and rented these games. It was Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. I know they're pretty terrible gameplay and stuff, and looking back, they were not good games, but at the time I loved them so much because I was such a horror fan since I was a little kid, and these games just brought me into those moods so well, and it just reminds me of going to the local video store and having those fun nights.
And you actually picked one of those back up again when we went antiquing.
Yes, I was able to get Friday the 13th at an antique store nearby, but still looking for Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, I've seen it before, but not for the right price.
But, well, you might need to pick it up soon if you want to find the right price, as thanks to a lot of video game buying, selling channels that we watch, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink, wink.
It seems like they're the ones that are bolstering the prices of what games are going for nowadays. And we could go on a whole tirade about that. And maybe we will at some point. But this is all about the scary games, not scary collecting.
Yeah. So getting into our actual list, what's your number 10?
My number 10 might be a little bit of a shock to you.
Okay.
But I will explain as things go along.
Sure.
It is The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
A lot of people hate this game for a lot of various reasons, mainly story-wise.
Yes.
Mainly the deletion of one character from golfing, and the introduction of a brand new character that seems nobody likes as a main protagonist. That said, when we played it, I fell in love. I love this game so very, very much.
Yeah.
Seeing Ellie's adventures as she's grown up 5 years from the original, the more open world kind of feeling of Seattle and just seeing it rain all the time. And it just had this really dreary atmosphere that wasn't really in the first game, mainly because of the rain and stuff like that. But it just fits so perfectly. And there's so many twists and turns that you really don't see in this. When I first played it the very first time, I felt like it went on too long. There's so many points where it's like, okay, you could cut it off right here and it'd be perfect. You could cut it off here and it would still be good. Why are you cutting it off here? Why is this still going? But when we replayed it last year, everything made so much more sense to me, and it just felt like the adventure that it needed to be. And of course, there is talks about Part 3, and why wouldn't there be with the success of TV show, and apparently they've already picked out the new Abby for casting. So when the strike is over, they're going to be starting that, and I'm very curious to see what that's going to be.
Absolutely.
But The Last of Us Part 2, one of the best story-driven games I've ever played, let alone a horror game.
Yeah, I will get into my thoughts of them later.
Right on. You're number 9.
My number 10.
Or number 10, sorry.
So my number 10, it's a cheesy one, but I love it. Night Trap.
Look out behind you, Night Trap.
So this was originally on Sega CD, I believe.
Yes, it was.
I never played it or knew about it back in the day, but
Well, who could get a Sega CD?
well, that is true.
It was, despite what YouTube videos tell you, it is such a rare thing that anyone ever had a Sega CD.
Yes. But it has since come out on pretty much every other console. And we played it on PlayStation, I believe, but I have it on Switch as well. And it's terrible. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a great game, but basically you're kind of being a voyeur and watching these girls have a slumber party, and they're kind of being attacked by these vampire creatures, and you have to try to get the vampires before they get them. And it's terrible. It's like you're watching like a really cheesy 80s horror movie about a slumber party. And that's what I love about it.
And don't forget, this is the game, along with Mortal Kombat, the whole reason why video games are rated now.
Yes.
Because apparently Night Trap was the most offensive, scary, blood-ridden, goriest game you could ever imagine.
I don't know how this was viewed that way.
Because it was like real life murder.
I guess, but
Although if you've ever played it, there's no murder at all.
No, not at all. But it's like I said, it's terrible, but thoroughly enjoyable in the just cheesiest way. So what's your number 9?
Such a great, terrible game.
Absolutely.
My number 9 is Vampire, or Vampire, depending
Sure, yeah.
however you wish to say it.
Yeah.
There's no wrong way, I suppose.
No.
But this is a game not a lot of people talk about, but I really find it to be a fantastic game. It is about a doctor who, after coming home from the war, gets bitten by a vampire. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't really know what's going on at first, but then he starts to realize that he's becoming a vampire. And in this game, it is an RPG style, but you basically decide as a doctor who gets to live and who gets to die. And of course, the way they die is you draining their blood, because you need blood to live. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of morality choices. It's very sociological for the time. There's like bums on the street, there's criminals, there's good people, there's nurses that really care, and you have to weigh out the pros and cons about who lives and who dies, so you're able to survive.
Yeah.
And you've seen me play parts of this. You didn't see all of it, but
yeah.
Do you remember me playing it at all?
A little bit. I mean, it seemed, well, I remember it being hard, though. Wasn't it a pretty hard game?
Yeah, the combat in this game is absolutely the worst part of the game.
Yeah.
But the story and the decisions that you make more than make up for it. So, with that said, what's your number 9?
So my number 9, I know I'm in the minority with this, but Friday the 13th, the game. And I will preface this by saying I've never played
the new game.
Yes. I've never played the multiplayer. Multiplayer is not my thing unless it's like on the sofa together with each other.
Co-op.
Yeah. So I've only played solo, but I think it's just so much fun, right? Running around as Jason, just trying to kill people. Like it's just easy fun. There's nothing more you can want.
I love the premise of it so much.
Yeah.
And that's why I enjoy Evil Dead the game, the brand new Evil Dead game, which, of course, talking about what I do, Vikram Shankar of Silent Skies Productions did the music for Evil Dead the game. Mm-hmm. It's the same idea, where you can either play as Ash, one of Ash's cohorts, or you can play as one of the Deadites. Mm-hmm. And it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of games like that out now. Dead by Daylight, obviously, is like the super group of all of the horror villains and stuff like that. Neither of us have played that yet.
No.
And of course, going off of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre deathmatch, there is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre the game, which has Leatherface. And it's the same idea where you can either play as one of the people that show up at the house, or you can be Leatherface. Hopefully it's not the AEW version with a very short, skinny guy with a chainsaw. I hope it's the big, tall, possibly wearing a dress Leatherface that I know all too well from the new generation. But yeah, I really like those kinds of games, and I'm glad that they're out there.
Absolutely.
And don't forget, next year, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game.
Yes. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is very sanctimonious for me, as the sequel is coming out next month.
Okay.
Just a few days before Halloween. It is Alan Wake.
Ooh, yes.
I've always wanted to play this game, but I didn't get to play it till about a year or two ago. I played the game Control before I played Alan Wake, which in hindsight might have kind of ruined the story in some way, shape, or form, as the whole thing is like all interconnected in some way, shape, or form. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is that this author, known as Alan Wake, remake is having writer's block, and his wife suggests that they go to an island town in the Pacific Northwest to get away, and then all of these different science fiction horror things start happening. And with all of these things, that's going to be coming into the sequel that's going to be coming out in roughly about a month now. As far as like the combat and stuff like that, all you have is flashlight to get rid of all these creatures that are coming after you. But I love the story so much. I love the way it looks. Poets of the Fall, one of the, which is a huge Finnish band everywhere except for the US.
Yes.
I love Poets of the Fall. They're also in Control, and I can only imagine that they're going to be in Alan Wake 2. I hope, anyways. But yeah, just everything. There's so much to love about this game, and it's going for really cheap right now, the remastered of it, and the DLC. No, not Cody, but it is referred to as American Nightmare. But yeah, I just love all of it. And I think you could enjoy it too if that ever tickles your fancy.
Yeah, maybe. So up next, number 8, I have Dark Pictures, Man of Medan.
Oh, the first one.
Yes. So this one, without going too in depth, it's a group of friends that go out on this boat. They hire or charter a boat to kind of go out and have a day together. And things kind of go awry, and some spiritual beings kind of cross their paths, and that's as deep as I'll go. But it really, these games just really kind of test the human kind of nature and kind of what you are capable of doing and what you would do in situations, and you kind of choose. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure, because you kind of decide which way it could go. It could have multiple different endings, and it's super dark, super traumatic, and it just gets your emotions in it.
Yeah, I had a feeling that at least one of these games is going to make the list, so I didn't put it on mine.
Yeah.
But I do love the whole series that we played so far.
Yep.
We haven't played The Devil in Me yet, which
yet.
I think we should do for Halloween.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully it's on sale.
Yes.
If they do a Halloween sale, it should be on there.
It should be.
But kind of like we mentioned right before the start of this segment, Chemist, A Conversation with Death is the theme song for the entire series. And the intro that they have for every single game is just so perfect. Like, they really matched the intro with the song to make it so much more effective.
Definitely.
But Man of Medan is such a great game. I love all three of them, but there's really something about like seeing these rich, privileged kids get into all these foibles.
Yeah, and they're all pretty much just hateable. I mean,
so hateable.
You don't like any of them.
Yeah, like if you go out of your way to kill all of them in the game, you're right to be able to do so. It also reminds me of the first game, even though it's not a part of the Dark Pictures anthology, but the one that came before it, Until Dawn, is another one of those, of course, all stuck in a mountain cabin. And that is such a great game. And I was thinking of putting that one on there. That was very, very close. But I am so big on the Choose Your Own Adventure ones.
Absolutely.
Especially when you start to panic when you're timed and you don't know what thing to do.
Yes.
It adds so much more stress to it, and you don't know what's the right choice or what you should do.
Exactly.
I love it.
So what's your number 7?
My number 7, I'm actually kind of surprised isn't up higher.
Okay.
But I do have it on here mainly because we enjoy it so much.
Yeah.
It is Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Okay.
I got to play a little bit of the original. I remember one of my brother's friends came over and had the PlayStation version of it, and we played it for one night, and I remember the terrible, terrible graphics that they had back then on the original PlayStation.
Yes.
Of course, back then it made us crap our pants because of how realistic it looked, but you look at it now and it's just laughable at how terrible it is.
Yeah.
But it was a very scary game, like when you see like the dogs like jumping through the windows and stuff like that, and zombies that you don't expect. Of course, with Remake, they completely change it, because in the original, you only get to see one camera at a time. So like when you go around a corner, it switches to a different camera angle.
Yeah.
Whereas Resident Evil 2, it's always behind you, like most modern games are, like right behind your right shoulder, which is the way that I prefer to play games.
Yeah.
But I just love the fact that it feels like it's so small, but it fits so perfectly, all trapped in the Raccoon City Police Department, and then a little bit more as it expands, but so much of the game takes place in the police station, and everything's just like one giant puzzle to be able to try to get out. It's just so much fun.
Definitely.
And I just really love the remakes that they've done so far, and I'm curious to see if they're going to keep doing that.
Absolutely. So my number 7 is Resident Evil 3, the remake.
Oh, 3?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I'm surprised.
Well, I love love this one as well. Like it's more about the escape from Raccoon City, and it takes, you know, some of the same elements from the second one. Like
Well, it happens the same night.
Yep, the same night. Yep. So it's the same kind of big crazy guy following you, trying to hunt you down, and he is insane. Like he literally scares you when he jumps up on the stage, or not on the stage, on the screen.
Well, actually, no, it's not the same.
Is it not the same guy?
No, Resident Evil 2 has Mr. X, which is like a big, giant stone kind of creature.
I thought he was still like in the beginning of number 3.
Well, he might be in the beginning, but with the third game, it's Nemesis. It's
Okay.
just like this big abomination of a creature.
Okay. Well, similar kind of stands.
Yes.
But yeah, it just them just trying to desperately get out of the city, and like it's just crazy. So it's fun.
Oh, it's a very fun game. I'm just kind of surprised because you always, whenever we talked about it before, you always said 2 is your favorite.
Yeah. Well, number 6.
All right then. Well, my number 6 is a game that I don't think you ever watched me play.
Okay.
But it's a game that is very near and dear to me, which is The Evil Within 2.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The Evil Within, the original game, is a nice, scary horror game made by the original creators of Resident Evil. This is a much different kind of game that is much more psychological and deals a lot with mental health. And the second game drastically improves upon that. Like, it's all these things about like self-doubt and depression and anxiety and regret and loss and battling all of the demons that come along with that through a huge allegory of different monsters and stuff like that. So in a way, it's kind of like the series Silent Hill, which I only remember playing way back in the day. I would need to play those again to be able to have them on this list, which I really want to, and I hope they re-release them at some point. But with the Evil Within 2, I just love the way that it just feels like I was battling my own mental demons as I was playing this game.
Yeah.
And the ending is so satisfying when you do conquer everything. Although I have heard rumors that there will be an Evil Within 3, which I'm honestly against because the ending of 2 was so perfect. But, you know, as we've learned from Hollywood and everything else in there, you gotta run every franchise into the freaking ground.
It's true.
So how about you?
My number 6 is Dark Pictures Little Hope.
Oh, you're doing multiples here.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
We're applicable. So I like this one a little bit more than the previous one I talked about, because this one is a group of teenagers who are on a bus, and the bus gets stranded, and they get stranded in this New England town that is just like completely dark and haunted and creepy, and it's very much that kind of 80s slasher vibe to it, but only a little bit darker and kind of twisted. But I love the tense nature of it. I love how it's like kids who are just trying to like get out, well, and some teachers and stuff too, just trying to kind of find their way out of the situation, and it's amazing.
I also love how it like flashes back and they're the characters as well.
Yes.
Because there's a story that happens before all the incidents of this one night, and then it goes into the present, and of course at the end it goes a little bit into a direction that I'm not going to give away.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate the ending to this one, I've learned over time.
Yeah.
And I guess I get why.
Yeah.
I'm being elusive here, not to give anything away, but I think I enjoyed like the feel of this one the most. Yeah, it was just a really fun game, and I love the atmosphere of it. I love the little town, Little Hope,
Yes.
which it works in more than one way.
And again, another choose your adventure. So
Yeah, dark anthology, Chemist doing the theme song just works so perfectly.
yeah, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is a game that I actually talked to you into getting
Okay.
on the Switch. I don't know how much I know you've played it,
Okay.
but I don't know if it's one you ever came back to.
Okay.
But it is a game that I loved and was actually my game of the year when it came out. It was Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
Yes.
I love this game. It's made by the creator of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And there's so many elements to it that it reminds you so much of Symphony of the Night, but there's so many new things about it as well. I mean, it's not vampires, it's other kinds of monsters and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it kind of has a water feel behind it too, because
Yes.
there's like some pirate moments, there's some ghastly water figures kinds of stuff. You can wear the Shovel Knight armor as well, which I found very charming as well. I mean, there's so many great Easter eggs in this game, and I really hope that there will be a sequel at some point, because it feels like there needs to be.
Yeah.
But there is 2 prequels that
Yes.
come up that are out that It's funny because Bloodstained Ritual of the Night feels like a kind of like a PlayStation 1 with modern graphics, but the two prequels are 100% dead set Nintendo games.
Yes.
And I thought that was really cool of them to do that because it reminds you of the old Castlevania games.
Yeah.
And as a gigantic Castlevania fan, all three of those games just make me so happy, but I do love Ritual of the Night the most because you get to explore so much, and it just hits all of the feels.
Definitely. And it's so visually beautiful too. Like, it's a stunning game, especially for that type of game. To have a game that you can call stunning is pretty amazing. But I absolutely love that game. I love all the Castlevania games. Like, they're some of my favorites. I will say I didn't put any of those on my list just because even though I can totally see how they are horror games, they're not games I go to for a horror game, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. So my number 5 is the Quarry.
Oh, okay. I'm sensing a theme here.
Really?
I'm not sure what it is yet, but I'm sensing it.
Sensing a theme.
So what is the Quarry?
So the Quarry is a group of campers who have spent their summer at a camp and they're supposed to go home, but transportation and other things kind of break down and they're stuck there another night, and some stuff goes down. There's kind of a killer on the loose, and yeah, shenanigans happen.
And of course, it has Sam Raimi's brother.
Yes.
It has the one and only David Arquette.
Yes.
As the camp counselor.
Yes.
Yeah, it just has like that modern but 80s horror feel behind it.
Yes.
It's a really good combination. And again, like the choose your own adventure.
Yep.
Although with this one, you can go back if you don't like what you did.
Yeah.
So, but from what I understand, there's like over 100 different endings that you can choose
Which
from.
is insane.
Of course, we only done one playthrough so far. Maybe we'll go back to it at some point.
We should do another one this next month.
But yeah, just a really fun game.
Yes.
My number 4 isn't really a game that you would think of for horror, but with the shock value, with what you actually do in the game, yeah, I think it really fits, especially in that torture porn style of like Hostel and other things like that. It is the game Manhunt.
Ooh.
A game that would not fly in 2023 with what you do in here, but you are someone trapped in a prison, and one person is controlling you and saying you have to kill all these different people to be able to escape.
Yes.
And you're in this rundown city, and you just have to just like slowly stalk them and kill them in different ways, like putting a plastic bag over their face and stabbing them in the head, or using baseball bats to knock their heads off, or so many gruesome things that if it had modern technology behind it, it would make people's jaws drop.
Absolutely.
But even back then, it did for me too. It's like, I can't believe they're getting away with this.
Yes.
And of course, this came after Grand Theft Auto 3, which was already shocking enough at the time because not only was it just like one of the first big open world games that people cared about on a large part, but you could run over people, you could hire prostitutes and kill them and get your money back. And then they just like tripled the ante with Manhunt, where you basically do just become a serial killer.
Yeah.
And you're the protagonist in the game as well.
Yeah, I definitely played this back in the day. It's just one of those shocking games. I don't remember there being much for story with it. It was just kind of, I mean, it sets you up as what you are and stuff, but then it's just kind of brutality, and that's really all it is.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
So your number 4.
My number 4 is Until Dawn.
Until Dawn.
Yes. So you talked about this one a little bit earlier. So it's a group of teenage friends, or not, I don't know, are they teenagers or are they in 20s?
They're in their 20s.
20s, yeah. And they're in a cabin in the snowy woods, and which I love that setting first to begin with because it just sets the mood of like this creepiness and stuff. But then again, another choose your adventure where you kind of play these pretty much unlikable people and kind of see what their limits are.
Yeah, it has a Hayden Planetarium,
yes,
as I like to call her. Yes. She's one of them on there. I don't remember his name, but the one that runs Filbert on BoJack.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the characters as well. Yeah, there's just all of them are unlikable.
Yeah.
Every single person. Yeah. And it's another one of them where it's like, you know what? Just let the ones that are killing them kill them, and I'm fine. It's one of those. But
Yes.
it's the very first choose your own adventure horror game from this company before they did the Dark Pictures anthology. There's also a VR game based on Until Dawn, which I never played since we don't have VR, and you'd get sick if you play VR.
Probably.
But I heard of it.
Yeah.
But the original Until Dawn, it was the first one I played like this. I think it was like the second or third PS4 game I ever got. I think it was the third one because I had Batman Arkham Knight, then it was Dying Light, and then I think it was Until Dawn.
Okay.
It's the third one. And I remember one Saturday morning you played this on your own.
I did.
And that was just so cool to see that. Like, I know you can't really do that now with TVs, but,
Yeah.
or at least with the big TVs that we have now, but
Yeah.
It made me so happy that I woke up and I saw that you were playing it and having so much fun with it.
Yeah, some games I can, but some definitely make me a little woozy. So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is a Castlevania game.
Okay.
It is the best Castlevania game, and it's the one you've never played.
In your opinion.
In my humblest opinion, and a majority agree with me amongst the world. The game that you never played,
Yeah.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Yes.
Whereas all I would say for you is that if you love Bloodstained, there's no reason not to love Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Because it is that, just in the Castlevania dressing.
Yeah.
You get to play as Alucard, which I've only learned recently is Dracula backwards, which I had no idea that was...
You were so innocent.
Yeah, so innocent. No, of course I knew what that was, but just like Dr. Acula is also Dracula as
Yes,
well.
it is.
But yeah, Alucard is Dracula's son, and he goes into his dad's castle to defeat him. And it's the game that pretty much spawned the idea of the Metroidvania, where, of course, you get to explore the entire map, but there's some parts that are locked away and you have to come back to, and there's puzzles involved. Of course, many of the original Castlevania games had it like this, but nothing compared to Symphony of the Night at the time. I know you're a big fan of the DS games that came out after this.
Game Boy games.
Or Game Boy Advance. Those games that I know you thoroughly enjoy, and you can play now thanks to it being on the
Yes.
Switch, and I can play as well thanks to it being on the PS4.
Yeah.
And I do love all the Castlevania games. In fact, we got all the collections on the Switch and the PS4. But Symphony of the Night still rules all to me.
So my number 3 is Resident Evil 2.
Oh, there it is.
That's why I didn't talk about before. No, I love the kind of being trapped in the police station feel. I love how puzzly this is because I'm a huge puzzle person. But like, it's not just puzzles. It's like, you need to figure this stuff out because somebody's about to kill you type things. So it's like the tension and the nervousness just is so ramped up with these things. It adds to it so much, I feel like. And it's such a fun game.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that you can't kill Mr. X.
Yeah.
You can stun him.
Yes.
You can blind him. And you can run away.
Exactly.
But he will always try to find a way to get you.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with Nemesis in Resident Evil 3. And that's why they're not the same, because in Resident Evil 2 with Mr. X, he's chasing those two in the game, and then Nemesis is chasing the other two in 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like two different creatures from the same idea, all under the Umbrella Corporation.
Yes.
But yes, Resident Evil 2 is my favorite of all the remakes so far.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 maybe is the black sheep of this whole list, because it's almost not a horror game.
Okay.
But when you look at the stories, you look at the atmosphere, you look at everything that's going on, I think it fits perfectly as a horror game.
Okay.
And it's Twisted Metal Black.
Okay.
The darkest of all the Twisted Metal games, the only one that's rated M for mature, unless the PS3 one was rated M. I never played it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But this particular game, just like the other ones, are kind of more lighthearted and campy and fun.
Yeah.
Whereas this one feels like everyone's going through their own personal horror movie in some way, shape, or form. And it's just so dark and gloomy. And when you see the backstories of what everyone had to go through, it's like all these different tropes of horror movies. And some of it actually happens in the Twisted Metal TV show as well. Although it's all kind of combined to make it a very campy, fun show. Not the case in Black. It's just so dark, so gruesome. And I remember playing this when it came out well before probably someone of my age should have, but my parents never had restrictions on video games games, they could not care less.
Yeah.
And I think that actually made me a better person for it.
Yes.
Because it kind of numbed me into all of that, so I was able to appreciate it much more rather than being scared all the time. But it's my favorite Twisted Metal game. I consider it a horror game, and it's so much fun.
Awesome. So my number 2 is Last of Us.
Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a beautiful movie.
Well, it is like a movie.
It's like
is
a
it
movie.
not?
It's a movie, basically. But no, it's one of those games that just grips you emotionally. It grips you like your nervous system. It grips your like mental stability. It just kind of tears you in so many directions. And I love this first one because it's really kind of some people who don't have anything to lose, and they just kind of find each other, and they're kind of just trying to navigate through this task that they have in front of them, and in a crazy world that they've been placed in. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yes, so amazing. In fact, it's actually my number 1.
Is it now?
Yes, The Last of Us is my number 1 favorite horror game of all time. I think the TV show made me even appreciate more the video game.
Yeah.
Even though there's so many different aspects between the two.
Yeah.
Especially the TV show has the greatest love story ever told in a TV show.
Absolutely does.
Between Frank and Bill.
Yes.
And I just love how it's made so many people uncomfortable and mad and angry and all these different things. And to me, just like you, it just made me bawl my eyes out.
Absolutely.
It was one of the greatest love stories I've ever seen in my entire life.
I don't know that I've ever cried that much from a TV show.
And the game does that to you as well, especially the first time when you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Everything from, the opening scene.
Yeah,
When you play as
absolutely.
Joel's daughter, all the way until it goes into like that beginning credits of The Last of Us. That is such a tear-jerking moment.
Yes. And even replaying too, like you catch things that you didn't before, and the emotions almost hit you more sometimes because you know what to expect, but you just don't want it to happen.
Oh yeah, and to me those are like some of my favorite things about rewatching something, because it's like, no, don't do that, do this, and you know you can't stop it.
Yeah.
Also just from like playing the game, playing as Joel, being able to like pick up all these notes from people left behind, like some of them moved, some of them sadly took their own lives.
Yes.
Some of them turned into the clickers. It's just like there's such heartbreak everywhere, and it does not let up.
Yeah.
There's some moments in there that'll make you laugh. There's some moments that make you think differently about things. But it is, to me, what funeral doom metal is to me.
Yeah.
Where there's such great gravitas behind all of it. There's such an ebb and flow, peaks and valleys where, some things might be a little lower, and then the tension builds up, and then it just brings you straight down, and just like, it just affects you so hard emotionally, where even when I played it, it felt like I was playing a movie, not a video game. And now that it's a TV show, and whenever the strike is done, they will be doing season 2, I can't even imagine where they're going to be going with this.
Yeah.
I mean, if they stick to what happens in part 2, that's going to be soul crushing, and you kind of don't want that to happen, but I'm so curious if they do.
Yeah. So my number 1 is The Last of Us 2.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is. So
Actually, I see this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my reasoning for this is, like I said with the first one, it's mainly about these two people who have nothing to lose. Whereas I feel like the second one is mainly about people who have everything to lose. They've now built these connections with so many people, and they've created these communities in this world that you didn't think could even have communities. Again. And when you have that already set, and then you add all this terrifying stuff on top of it, and trying to navigate these crazy conditions and situations and everything, it's even more terrifying, because it's not just, I might lose my life. It's like, I might lose everybody that I now have around me, and I might be brought down to nothing again. And when some of these people have already lost what they thought was everything, so then for them to regain something and lose it again, yeah, I can't imagine. So it's terrifying in that respect, I feel like. And also I feel like it really pushes the fear of like a lot of other things. It's not just the infected people around them. It's also like there's situations where they're like walking across ramps on the top of huge buildings,
skyscrapers, yeah.
And it's so many different situations like that you didn't really experience as much in the first one.
A sidebar with that.
Yeah.
There's actually an option in part 2 where, the PS4, PS5 controllers, they have like that gyro kind of thing.
Yup.
So you could turn that on, and that's the reason you could fall off.
Yup. And with it being just so more expansive and such a longer game with like, different characters being the leads and stuff like that, you're seeing this world from a different perspective, from many different perspectives. And I think that builds a lot of fear too, because it's not just one person's like kind of fear. It's this culminating fear,
Yeah, and it's told through the perspective of two people, which I won't give away.
Yeah.
But, and there's a lot of things that you really care about in this game as well, too, as far as, like, sociological and
Absolutely.
acceptanceable.
Yeah.
So, that's a lot of things that I've seen people complain so much about online.
And I think they're terrible. There it is. Like, if a game can make a point and do it eloquently and in a way that matters and that can have an impact, let it be and support it. If you don't support it, I don't support you.
Another reason I love you. So, kind of like what I just talked about, like, do you want them to follow that part 2 in season 2, or do you want them to change it?
I mean, I don't want to give anything away for people who haven't played or anything, but I kind of hope they don't. Part of me at least hopes that they don't follow it, because that would be a tough loss for the show. And frankly, I think that's a big thing that draws people into it too. If you know what I'm trying to say, you know what I'm trying to say. But I get if they do it though. I'm just curious where they're gonna go with everything though.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
That could make the situation show up in every episode. But I won't say it here again because I don't want to give anything away if you've never played part 2, or if you're one of those people it's like, oh, they do that, I don't want to play that. You should get your head out of your rear end and actually play part 2.
Yes.
At some point I think we need to play the remastered PS5 version of it.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
Once it actually goes down in price, because paying $70 for
a game we already have.
Yeah, is not optimal.
Yes.
But I do want to play the remastered version of that at some point. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, I am just so curious where the show's going to be going. And more than that, what's going to happen in part 3?
Yes.
How many years apart is it? Are we going to get old Ellie? Or is it going to be like 30s to 40s Ellie? Or are we getting it like 5 years after this? So she's like old enough to rent a car if cars were still available. Like there's so many different ways it could go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our collective top 10 horror video games in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. What are your favorite horror video games? Do you have any? Are you too scared to play them? Is that all you play? Let us know in the comments down below.
Okay, so up next we got some TV content. First of all, we watched AEW Dynamite last week. Any thoughts from that?
It was a really boring episode.
Yeah.
For the most part.
It was.
There's only one saving grace.
Yes.
That's MJF doing Steiner math.
100%.
Of course, updated for the situation, but it is the legendary Scott Steiner promo done through MJF.
Yeah.
And seeing MJF being this tweener.
Yes.
Where, if you don't know wrestling terminology, it's you're not a babyface, which is the good guy.
Nope.
You're not a heel, which is the bad guy. You're in between, so tweener.
Yeah, basically he's loved by everybody, but he's a jerk.
Yes. He's our scumbag, as he likes to refer to himself as.
Absolutely.
He is the Ric Flair of the current generation, in my opinion, because he has some of the most legendary matches. He's perfect on the mic.
Absolutely.
Everything he says is memorable.
Yes.
He can cut promos on the crowds or the other wrestlers or anyone else, and you just burst out laughing.
Yes.
He is a sensational jerk, but you love him for it.
Yes.
But everything that's happened, honestly, I'm surprised we're still not watching Collision with CM Punk being out.
Yeah.
But we still don't, for some reason. But
maybe
there's been this huge tournament going on that you could see coming from a mile away for the next opponent against MJF for the AEW World Championship.
Yeah.
And the finals have come down to Samoa Joe and Roderick Strong.
Yes.
Where Samoa Joe won. And he will be taking on MJF this Wednesday at AEW Grand Slam, which is at a gigantic tennis stadium in New York, which I am forgetting the name of.
Yeah.
But, of course, they call it Grand Slam because that's a tennis term. But there's a lot of different matches that are going on there. Castagnoli and Eddie Kingston are doing belt versus belt.
Yeah.
Chris Statlander is facing Tony Storm. I think it's Moxley versus Phoenix as well.
Okay.
And there's another match I'm completely forgetting.
Yeah.
But of course, the main event is Samoa Joe versus MJF. So
Yeah.
this is built as like the biggest episode of AEW every year because of the capacity that they're at. It's not the anniversary show. It's not anything else special like that. But they treat this as like a WrestleMania of TV. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping it'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like we've alluded to previous episodes, it's been kind of a slump, I will say, for AEW for a while now, but there are some saving graces like MJF, Don Callis, but yeah, I'm curious to see what happens, what comes out of it.
Yeah, same here.
Outside of that, we finished up Harley Quinn.
Oh yes, season 4.
Yes.
Which I'm still so happy this show is going.
Yeah.
Especially when you think of like, well, I was scared to even get you into the show because as we've talked about on one of the very first What's Your Problems, you don't like animation of superheroes.
Yeah, for the most part, I do not.
Yeah, but I showed you one episode of Harley Quinn and you were hooked.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I don't know.
And it's so funny to think of like where it went from like the very first episode where it was such low stakes to where it is now with such huge stakes in the world. I love all of it. Yeah. There's some things I don't like about what's going on right now.
Okay.
The two biggest things being that Clayface is barely there.
Yeah.
And the bigger, Ron Funches as King Shark is barely there.
Well, he's
who I thought was the
family.
Well, he's the saving grace of the show.
I love his character, absolutely love his character, but he has this cute little baby sharks now that he's taking care of.
And I wanted to see more of that.
I know.
I want to see him be a dad.
Maybe next season they'll come out fighting more.
Seeing that one baby shark with the gun and just
yes.
But it's a very M-rated, TVMA, R-rated adult animated show where, you know, like with most superhero animation, the most you'll see is that they get beat up and taken to prison.
Yeah.
Not here.
No.
You see like brutal murder.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes with guns, sometimes with bare fists, sometimes King Sharp ripping off someone's head with their mouth.
Yes.
And it's just so funny.
It
is. Of course, my favorite character, who's getting a little bit more of a presence now, Bane.
Yes, he is hilarious too.
I love Bane. And of course, Bane is going to be showing up in a brand new show.
Yes, we got to see the preview for Kite Man, which is coming out soon.
Too
soon.
Coming too soon, but
yeah.
It's actually referred to as Kite Man. Hell yeah.
Yes.
If you're not familiar, if you've never seen the TV show Harley Quinn, Kite Man was dating Poison Ivy for just a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And they were going to get married.
They were.
But then Ivy broke it off, and kind of a spoiler, but it also happens in the comics as well.
Yeah.
Harley and Ivy become girlfriends.
Yes.
And Kite Man actually leaves the wedding because he knows that he wasn't going to be loved. Mm-hmm. And she didn't want any part of it.
Yeah.
Even though he comes off as such a douche in the first couple seasons, you start to really feel for him later.
You do.
You know, kind of like the Deep in The Boys.
Yeah.
Where he's such a terrible, awful person.
Yes.
But you start to feel for him as the show goes on.
Totally.
But with Kite Man, hell yeah, he owns a villain bar where all the villains go to drink and talk about their problems. So it's like a super villain version of Cheers.
Yes.
And I could not be more excited for where that's going to go. It seems like there's going to be a lot of huge stakes with different supervillains and stuff like that. It feels like there's going to be a lot of Cheers moments where they're just drinking alcohol and telling their sob stories about the day. It's what I wanted from this. And
exactly.
I heard rumors it was canceled, and I was so happy to be proven wrong about that.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's going to be good?
I think so. The preview looked fun, and I loved his character in Harley Quinn, so I can only imagine it'll be good. They seem to be in good hands with this show, so.
And there's crossover, as we do see Harley in the trailer. We see Bane. We see other characters as well, too. Yeah, I think this will help ease the pain for Harley Quinn Season 5.
Maybe King Shark's sons will work there.
Depending on how fast they grow, that'd be great to seeing them wash beer mugs and stuff.
Exactly. So outside of that, we did talk about last week how we started rewatching Metalocalypse.
And
took a little break from that this week because this week got a little busy, but we will be getting back to that at some point and wrapping that conversation up in a future show.
Yeah, we were going to, but so many things happened with our personal lives. playing Starfield, and some stuff that I got to prep for this week.
Yeah.
Just made us both forget about watching Metalocalypse, or not making an effort to watch it.
Yeah.
But we will get there.
We will. So up next, we got some gaming talk. We watched the PlayStation State of Play. We also watched the Switch Direct. That's what it's called. So we'll run through some of the games we saw that are a little bit of interest. So up first for Switch, we had Mario versus Donkey Kong.
Yes, I am so happy to see this back, as I never got to play I think it was the DS version that they're talking about here.
Yeah.
I think it's like a remaster or a remake of the game, but it's supposed to be similar to the original Donkey Kong games.
Yeah.
And just updated just enough to where Donkey Kong isn't really the bad guy.
Yes.
Although, if you know the folklore, in the Donkey Kong games, Donkey Kong is the hero and Mario is the villain.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people do not know that.
I know.
But that looks like a lot of fun.
It does look fun. And then there was Horizon Chase Turbo 2.
Yes, I love the first game so much. It's just a nice, simple, easy racing game that is just very relaxing, has that 80s, early 90s kind of look behind it.
Yeah.
And this one looks more like that, just a little bit more of it, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, I never played the original, but this one looked like fun.
It's on the Switch.
Up next, we had Princess Peach Showtime.
Yes. Do you want a game where you're actually playing as Peach? Or different variations of Peach?
Yeah.
This is the game for you.
It is.
What did you think of it?
I think it looks cute. Like, depending on which kind of game you're playing, she has different kind of personas she takes on, like more of a detective type Peach or whatnot. And I think it looks cute and fun.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, I'd rather have a Daisy game, though. I will say that.
Will there ever be a Daisy game?
No.
I know.
Up next, we had Tomb Raider 1 through 3 being remade.
Yes, that's also going to be on PlayStation, as I saw.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing about this game is you can either have it updated, so it kind of looks more like a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 game.
Yeah.
Or you can have the original look to have the cone boobs.
Yes.
So whatever your flavor of boob is... It is here, where it's realistic or cone boob. Yeah, it plays just like the original PlayStation games, just updated if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And made available on newer consoles, so you can enjoy the games from, almost 30 years ago now.
Oof. Next, we have Detective Pikachu, which I think looks adorable. I'm sad that it's not Ryan Reynolds doing the voice, but what can you do?
Well, as I've said before, I think Danny DeVito should have been Pikachu.
Oh,
come on, I'm Pikachu. Let's go find your father.
I don't know about that.
No, seriously. Like, the game seems like it's really based off the movie Detective Pikachu, which the original Detective Pikachu was not. It was just its own thing.
Yeah.
And the movie is not really based on that.
Yeah.
This is based off the movie, and it looks very cute.
It does. Up next, we have Contra.
Yes. Again, kind of like with Tomb Raider, they decided to remaster Contra, one of my favorite video game series of the quarter eater era, where you just put in the quarters and you constantly keep dying and you feed them in to try to progress to the game. The original microtransactions.
Yes.
I hope that comes to other consoles as well too. I'd love to play that on PlayStation or something, but I'm a big Contra fan. I'd love to play it.
Yeah, I never played Contra, and up next is Luigi's Mansion 2, which I've never played the original. I've always wanted to, but it looks really fun.
Yeah, if you're like us and you've never played them, of course, there's some people playing this. It's like, how did you not play them?
Yeah.
You play as Luigi in a haunted mansion, and you suck up ghosts with a special vacuum cleaner.
Yes.
And of course, Luigi's just this big, tall, scaredy, which I can relate to so very, very well. I did play like an arcade version of Luigi's Mansion. I think that was at Dave & Buster's.
Yeah.
It is not like the games, from what I understand. So I would really like to go back and play like one of them to see how it actually is, because it looks like a fun little cute horror game.
It does. Good for this time of year too. Mm-hmm. Up next is F-099, which I briefly started playing a couple days ago. It's a multiplayer racing game.
Yes, it's based off the original F-Zero X, which is a Super Nintendo racing game. Mm-hmm. But in typical Mario Online fashion now, it adds 99 to it, meaning that you're racing 99 other people.
Yes.
So it's 100 people, and you have to race until you can't race no more. And, just try to make it to the top in this kind of battle royale style.
Yeah.
What was it like for you? I didn't get to play it yet.
It was fun. I didn't get to play it for too long, but it was fun, and it's free too, so...
Yeah, as long as you have Switch Online,
Yeah.
it's free, so there's no reason not to try it.
Exactly. Up next is WarioWare Move It.
Yes. Do you not want to be short and fat like Wario is anymore? Well, he decided to make an exercise game that you use with the Switch Joy-Cons where you do different stretches and exercises and moves.
Yes.
Basically as a means of playing a game and exercising at the same time.
Yes.
What do you think of this?
I mean, I think it's an interesting concept. You know, it kind of combines your love with gaming and kind of gets you up off the couch a little bit too. So I think it could be fun.
Would you try it?
Maybe, yeah. Up next, we have Paper Mario.
I never got into Paper Mario.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's because I've never played it, but I also just really don't like the aesthetic of it.
I don't either. So I've never played it either, but
I mean, it does look cute. I mean, like Toad in
Yeah.
Paper Mario form looks really cute and
Yeah,
stuff, but
yeah.
we did want to cover all the Mario games. That's why we threw this in here. And
Yeah.
this seems to be the game that they're pushing the most as one of the last games of the Switch before the Switcheroo comes out.
Yeah.
Potentially next year, or whatever the Switch 2 will be called. I think it should be called the Switcheroo.
it should.
Just like I said when the original Switch came out.
Yes.
But, I mean, if you're into like the Mario RPG turn-based kind of stuff, I mean, it's more Paper Mario, so
Absolutely.
there you go.
So moving on over to PlayStation, we got a few games there. First up, one that we both thought looked amazing, Baby Steps.
Yes, this is a walking simulator, and I don't mean that as typical walking simulator games like Journey or Absu, where all you do is just like move forward and explore everything.
Yep.
No, you're simulating walking.
Yes.
And it just has this like really crude humor and
Yes.
just so sarcastic and passive aggressive, and
It's almost kind of Rick and Morty humor in a way.
but it's not Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was trying to say that without saying it, but like if you like the Rick and Morty kind of humor, but through like at least from the trailer, a guy just like walking a trail,
Yes.
a mountain trail,
trying to walk a
trying
trail.
to walk. Yeah, I want to play this so bad.
I
It
know,
it
I
looks
know.
so funny. It could be
does.
terrible.
Yeah.
It could be awful, but I
Yes.
still want to play it.
Exactly. Then up next we got Resident Evil Separate Ways.
Yes, the DLC to the Resident Evil 4 remake.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we talked about 2 and 3. We didn't talk about 1 because I don't think we've played that together.
No, we haven't.
But what did you think of 4?
I didn't enjoy it when we tried to play the original version of it, but when we played the remake that came out, then I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't like it as much as 2 and 3, obviously, but it was still interesting.
4 is a very polarizing game.
Yeah.
Because it's half horror, half action movie.
Yeah.
And especially if you enjoyed 2 and 3, 4 is just something completely different. Like, you wanted it just to be totally scary and stuff. And they did add a lot more horror to the game this time around, but it still feels like an action movie.
Yeah.
So it's very polarizing in that aspect, but I did really enjoy it. I felt like it kind of went on a little too long,
Yeah, I could see that.
but we were also rushing to try to beat it in a weekend as well, too.
Yeah.
And with the way I play, I try to look at every nook and cranny to explore all the different things,
Yes.
as gamers do.
Yes.
But I did enjoy it, and I've never played the side story to this because we barely played the original, and I never played the original before that.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see what the Ada Wong story is going to be all about with this and how it all ties together, and maybe it'll allude to what the next remake is going to be. It could be Resident Evil 5, it could be Code Veronica, it could be Zero. There's a lot of different ways they could go with it.
Absolutely. And then finally, from the PlayStation showcase, we had Spider-Man.
Yes, Spider-Man 2 coming out October 20th.
Yes, coming up.
Yes, I cannot wait to play this. I'm going to be playing Starfield until then, probably. Yeah, they are doing the thing where if you get the deluxe version, you get all these different things.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not completely locked away from that. I hope that you can get them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because I think they have like 62 different outfits that you can wear.
Oh, wow.
And unlike most games, the different costumes unlock different powers.
Oh, yeah.
So I hope they don't lock that behind a paywall.
Yeah, that would sting.
But that said, I'm so excited for this. You get to play as both Peter Parker and Miles Morales. And it has some of my favorite villains of the Spider-Man universe. Venom, of course, being one of my favorites. And the legendary Tony Todd is the
Yes!
voice of Venom, which I can't wait for.
Love Tony Todd.
Kraven the Hunter is going to be a part of this as well. He has a Marvel movie coming up through Sony Pictures. So if you loved Morbius, you'll probably love Kraven the Hunter as well.
Ooh.
I think you and I are the only two people who enjoyed Morbius. And I mean that with
you're
all
all
sincerity.
wrong. You're all wrong.
Well, I mean that with all sincerity. I did not hate Morbius the way everyone else does.
I think people just have it in their heads that they have to hate Jared Leto, and they just go into any movie or anything with him in it like that, and they need to lose that because it's stupid and childish.
And they've never seen Requiem for a Dream.
Clearly.
Yeah, but there's a lot of great villains on here. The game looks amazing. It's twice as big now. In the first game, you're basically in Manhattan the whole time.
Okay.
This time, you also get to play in the Bronx and Queens.
Oh, nice.
So you get to play 3/5 of all of New York City.
That's pretty
So
cool.
I imagine that the third game will unlock the other two parts of New York City as well, so you can play the whole New York City at some point.
Yeah, that
which
would be awesome.
Really cool.
And finally, we got some music content for you. I haven't checked out a lot of new stuff, but we did check out the new Mercenary. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I know it's not the same singer they used to have years ago, and I know there's been other lineup changes as well, but I really like what they're doing now, and it's that Mercenary sound that I love.
And, that's one of the perks of being with me is that you get to
Yes.
hear promos in advance.
Yes.
Even if I'm not directly showing you, you're not really a part of this. You can hear the speakers going on while you're working.
Yes.
You just do it by influence. But,
Exactly.
but no, honestly, I've listened to it again.
Yeah.
And it's becoming one of my favorite Mercenary albums.
Yeah.
Like, I love the choruses. I love the bridges in this. The music. I love so much of Mercenary. And yeah, it's not the same vocalist. It's not the same tone. But it doesn't need to be.
Yeah. Outside that, one thing that we checked out together was the new Angra single.
We've actually heard two Anchor singles now.
I think we talked about the other one on a previous episode, but this one, again, it feels like they're going for a way darker kind of vibe with this album so far from what we've heard, which is fine, but it feels like Fabio's really trying to make his voice sound more aggressive, and that's just not his voice.
No, power metal Weird Al should not be trying to do gravelly or screamy or growly kind of stuff.
No,
that's not him.
It's just throwing me off. So I don't know what I make of this album so far.
I want to sit down with Raphael and ask if he's doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're...
is he enjoying Angra right now? Because I'm not getting that impression that he is.
Yeah, well, and from the first single, obviously, if you watch the video, it definitely seemed to be kind of a nod to...
one of the greatest vocalists of all time.
Yes.
Andre Montes.
Absolutely. So I'm wondering if this album in general is kind of them experiencing that loss in a way, which would make total sense, but...
Granted, I don't know what their relationship was like after Andre left.
Yeah.
But I feel like the band kind of just feels like they're experiencing a lot of regret right now.
Yeah.
Like they wish that they could have made up more with Andre, maybe even bring him back into the fold. And now that he's gone, it's just like so many things left unsaid, so many things that can't change.
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, we'll see what the rest of the album entails when it comes out. But I'll say that there is a couple singles I saw came out, but I just haven't had a chance to check out yet. I saw that Axe and Star had a new single and has a new album coming out.
Oh, wow.
I'm very, very excited to check that out. And I also saw that Anders Manga put out a new single.
I did not hear this.
Yeah, so we gotta check that out too.
Yeah, so of course, Anders Manga is the main songwriter, singer, everything except for the bass for Bloody Hammers.
Yes.
Where his wife does the bass
Yeah.
and backup vocals, which it proves that not everyone is a Yoko Ono situation. You can be married and write music together.
You can.
And they're not the only example. Oceans of Slumber is like that as
Yeah.
well. There's a lot of bands that I know. The reason I keep bringing that up is because a former band I was a part of that went absolutely nowhere. The most that we got was very rough demos of what songs could have been.
Yeah.
And we had a female singer at the time. And our bassist did not want any Yoko Ono situation, so no dating in the band. I think it's because he got turned down, but I don't know.
Probably.
Exactly. But I always keep bringing that up because not everything is a Yoko Ono situation.
It's
and
true.
Bloody Hammers is an amazing example of that.
Absolutely. So what have you been checking out?
I've checked out a ton of stuff while you were away.
Okay.
On your ventures away from Mole Man Studios.
Yes.
Some of this might be your bag. Some of it you will absolutely hate.
Yeah.
For example, Gridlink, which is progressive grindcore coming back after nearly a decade. The album is about 18 minutes in length, but it is a full-length album.
Okay.
Every song is roughly about a minute or two. progressive grindcore, so I know you would absolutely hate that,
Yeah,
but
I know.
if you love the more chaotic stuff like I do, it is something up your alley. After hearing that they were playing prog power, I had to check this band out. It's a band called Ice Giant from New England. They're kind of like a symphonic melodic death metal band.
I'm listening.
Yeah, I actually checked them out after kind of avoiding them because of the name, honestly.
Yeah.
I kind of figured they were a different kind of band.
Yes.
But actually, after checking them out, and after we're done here, I'll show you what they sound like.
Okay.
Since I got them together on my list for the top albums of September. Doesn't mean it's going to make my top 10, but I have checked it out, and I found it very good.
Yeah.
The new Ronnie Romero came out back on Friday.
Oh, yes.
Of course, we know him best for his power metal stuff like The Ferrymen and Lords of Black.
Yes.
But this album is much more of his run in Rainbow, where it's a lot more of that classic hard rock, classic heavy metal sound, where his voice does fit perfectly for that as well. He is a power metal god, but he's also a classic metal god as well, too. I'm still trying to get used to the songs, but I enjoy everything that I hear.
Yeah.
And I take it you haven't had the chance to hear that yet?
I think we listened to a little bit of it at least.
Oh, we did back
Yeah.
before. One that's going to make you very mad that I checked out without you. Yesterday, I got the promo for the new Blackbriar,
I'm about to leave.
but I did not check out the album. I do have
okay.
it.
Good boy. Good boy.
Yes, but
I was going to pack my bags.
yes, I do have the promo. I have it downloaded on my iTunes and everything. But from the singles that I've heard so far, this is probably going to be the most underrated album of the year because I see no one except for you talking about them.
Well, yeah, they're underrated in general. They are amazing, amazing, amazing. Zora has one of the most amazing female
what's her last
vocals.
name?
You've done this before and you're not doing it again. Back off. Check them out. Check them out. Check them out. Check them out.
Yes, I think the album comes out on Friday or next Friday.
Okay.
It's either the 22nd or the 29th, but just be on the lookout. Everything that I've heard from the singles so far has been fantastic.
Yes.
Another album that I've been, I actually did get to check out is the brand new Primordial album.
Oh.
With the way that it sounds, the album's called Is This the End? Kind of making it wonder if this is the final album for Primordial,
Yeah.
or are they just talking about the end of humanity, the end of freedom, if they're more the libertarian stance? I don't really know.
Who knows these days?
I have a love-fear kind of thing with Primordial. I love them. We saw them at Maryland
Yes.
Death Fest. We also saw his Bathory influenced band as well, Fire in the Mountains.
And Twilight of Gods.
Or Twilight of the Gods, sorry. Yeah, I was thinking of the band song. But yeah, saw both of them. They're great. But both times that I've interviewed him, it just felt like he did not want to be there. And I don't know if that's just his personality. But I strive myself on trying to make every person I interview feel comfortable, compliment them as much as I can, making it feel natural, of course, and just having a great fun time.
Yeah, I think it's just, he's kind of one of those harsher personalities. And I think you can tell by the way he, is in his music and stuff too. Like, he just kind of has that tough personality about him, And I love Primordial. I love Twilight of the Gods. I've seen Primordial a couple times now, and they're great.
Oh, they are. And I think it's a fantastic album. It's been a few years, so I'm excited to see what's going to be going on here. But
Exactly.
Right now, I have 25 albums to narrow down to 10 from my top 10 albums of September 2023. And that does not include promos that I don't have yet that are coming out Friday and the following Friday, including a brand new Steven Wilson, which I haven't even heard yet. I don't know if he went back prog. I don't know if he's doing his indie electronica stuff still. I don't know what's going on, so I'm excited to hear that. The brand new Baroness also came out on Friday, which I remember, which easily album of the year material for me once again.
Yeah.
I love Baroness through and through. This is probably the heaviest Baroness album that they've done in quite some time.
Yeah.
Whereas Purple was probably their most mainstream album. Golden Grey was their most emotional album. This one feels like it's the heaviest so far. And I'm very excited to see where things are going to be going from here. I know they're coming to town, but there's a couple bands opening that is not either of our bags. And it's weird because it seems like almost every date of the tour, they have a different opener. Sometimes they have some indie bands. Sometimes it's Imperial Triumphant. And everything in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so strange, but I hope to see them again, and I hope you get to see them too, because I know you enjoy Purple.
Yeah.
I think you enjoyed some songs off Golden Grey too, but I know you enjoyed Purple. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps things up for the show this week. Not as eventful as other ones, but I'm kind of thankful for that. No celebrity deaths to talk about this time around.
Yes.
So it's actually going to be a little bit harder to name the show, but I'll try to think of something good here.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But if you enjoyed the show, let us know. If you didn't enjoy it, tell us what we can improve upon. I'm sure it has to do with me more than the Metal Faerie.
I don't know. I gave some interesting reviews.
Hey now. But yeah, just let us know everything in the comments or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and of course YouTube, all under the name Heavy Debriefings. Or go to the website heavydebriefings.weebly.com because I refuse to pay for that Weebly domain. That is way more expensive. But until episode 11, which we're going to be continuing down the Halloween route.
Yes.
I can't wait to see which one we pick for next week and all the stuff that we'll be talking about then. For the Metal Faerie, this is Josh Runquist for the Heavy Debriefings podcast saying, see ya.